using their skills, using their educational empowerment. That's what the young people of this generation should be thinking about.
So you've had a burning desire to mobilize young persons for missions. Can you tell us about it, sir?
Well over 10 to 15 years, God has given me that calling of raising missionaries for Him from the university campuses. And so this has been the focus of my life. And as I teach on the university campus, my focus has been, where are the students who are pliable, passionate about God's kingdom, that can be mobilized for His mission. And so over the years, we have using many resources that we have available to us. Some were given to us by the Center for Mission Mobilization USA, and so some other resources that we have used to create awareness, cast vision, a vision for missions among students in the university campuses. So, and those whom we have so exposed to the training, we go beyond the training to bring them to the mission field so that they could have a first-hand experience of what it means to do missions. So we do this within the country, Nigeria, in diverse places, just like we are in the refugee camp here in Ogoja, trying to reach out to bring the gospel to Cameroonian refugees. So this is what we've been doing, exposing them, bringing them to mission fields in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. We've gone to Benin Republic. We've worked in many regions in Benin Republic, and we've also worked in Cameroon and other places. So the aim is to give them that practical experience of doing missions across cultures. So this is what we've been doing, and we've had a considerable response from the young people, because they see that God needs them when they are young. So they are ready to adventure for God instead of adventuring for Satan in cult groups and other things. So this is where they find fulfillment, serving the Lord and advancing His kingdom.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We've seen that there are a number of factors that have influenced the execution of missionary projects around the world, particularly the 1040 window. And we've considered the great injustice that has happened to these persons who are in these places around the world. What is the role of the church in setting in order the injustice that has been meted against these persons? How does the church come to play, and what is this great injustice?
Yes, and that's a great thing to address in missions. You know, the church is supposed to exist for mission. Every church, every local church, every denominational church is supposed to be a church on mission with God. But sadly, this is not the case. the church is doing quite a lot in terms of programs, conferences, conventions, retreats, and a lot more. But if you summarize much of what the church is doing is just ministering to believers. Okay, so the question is, what about those who have never heard the gospel? Out of more than 8 billion people in our world today, over 3 billion people are still waiting to hear the gospel for the very first time. What is the church doing about it? So, the great injustice is that those who have heard the gospel are given opportunities upon opportunities of hearing the gospel again and again and again and again. Whereas those who have never heard the gospel are not given that opportunity to hear, even for the very first time. That's why it is a great injustice. Okay? A missionary said, why should somebody who has heard the gospel before hear again when there are people who have not heard for the first time? We talk about the second coming of Christ, but there are millions of people who have not heard about the first coming. That was what Oswald J. Smith brought to the front burner. There are people we are talking about, oh, Jesus is coming again, fine. But what about those who have never heard about the first coming of Jesus? What's going to happen to them? And we find that those who have not had the chance of hearing this gospel are concentrated within the 1040 window. The poorest of the poor, the last stronghold of Satan. And where you have loss and loss of persecution, poverty, the loss of the lost that are found there. But the church is not, like, this is where we are supposed to be focusing on. In this 1040 window, you have different religions. The major religions of the world, Islam started from there, Buddhism is there, Hinduism is there, Shintoism, all manner of religions. There are major religious blocks, not to talk of the tribals. So when are we going to start? When will the church rise up and strategize to reach these people with the gospel? Islam alone, over 2 billion people. Hinduism, over 1 billion people. And the rest, the numbers, the statistics is just staggering. So it is not the time for us to continue to do church the way we've been doing. It's time for the church to rise up and take the gospel. Maybe I should just add, apart from not having enough personnel, enough number of missionaries to go out, we also have the problem of funding. Even those few missionaries who are working within the 1040 window are lacking in funding. Much of the church's money is spent within the church in programs, conventions, a lot of other things. Only very little is used to reach those who have never heard the gospel. Okay, so it is one aspect of the great imbalance. This is where we should put all the money. This is where we should put all the effort. This is where we should put all the personnel. If we are praying, this way we should be sending our prayers. If we are mobilizing for global prayer, this is where we should be sending arrows of prayers into this region. But we are not doing that. So that's why it is called the great imbalance and also the great injustice.
So a research that was done showed that the major factor that has resulted in the great imbalance from the church has been administrative. In your own, what do you think is the major factor that has influenced this great imbalance, especially in the Christian community?
Well, when you talk about administration, you know how the denominations are structured and the things the denominations do. So much of the church's budgets hardly, if ever, include missions. And even if missions is put in budget, it is the least at the bottom of priority. And this is an administrative issue. So where we don't place our priorities right, then we have this problem. So mission is not the priority of the church. It's not.
So, sir, finally, what's the future of missionary activities in Africa?
Many centuries ago, Africa became the mission field. It was then called the Dark Continent, where missionaries had to be sent from America, Europe, and diverse other places in order to evangelize Africa. So now, Africa should be thinking of taking the gospel to other places, because right now Europe that brought the gospel to us has lost it. And so Africa now should be thinking of being a sending continent. A sending continent, not a receiving continent. So, but then we have the problem of the priority of the church. If the church does not prioritize missions, where are we going to get funds to send missionaries, especially to Europe? That's a challenge.
Okay, so Campus Momentum is going to be 15 years, or is 15 years in 2025. What's the future of Campus Momentum in 10 years from now?
Well, I see Campus Momentum, God helping us, as a veritable tool that be used to reach especially the continent of Europe with the gospel. God has revealed to us that even though we are doing mission mobilization effectively, we are exposing our volunteers, those we have trained in missions, to the mission field. But that is on short-term mission basis. The future of CM is going to be that we will be much involved in long-term mobilization of missionaries. Well, we have to mobilize missionaries who would go and serve on the long term, especially in Europe. And we foresee that happening even before 10 years. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate you for coming for our interview. Thank you very much. So, do you have any word of encouragement or no word of motivation to compel prospective young professionals or campus students to join the mission force that the mission project that God has set out for the church at this present day?
Yes, this is a clarion call for every university undergraduate, every university graduate, whether you did first degree, you are doing postgraduate program. It is a clarion call for every university graduate and graduate professionals to deliberately, intentionally be involved in global missions. That's what He has called us to do. History has it that God has always used young people to ignite his global missions movement. And so he is not going to change that strategy in our generation. So all the young undergraduates, graduates, young professionals of our generation should prepare themselves to be actively involved in global missions. If they don't do it, who is going to do it? So wherever they are, whatever profession they find themselves, they should use their professions as mission territory. You know, some of them will have to go as tent makers. Some of them can go as international students. For those who are still in school, they can go as international students. Some can go as tent makers, get jobs, and then be involved in reaching out to places where they find themselves all over the world. Many Nigerians are leaving the country, but they're leaving for a different reason than what we are talking about. Many are trying to better their economic situation, but we are talking about young people who are able to catch the vision of global missions and intentionally go abroad, go overseas in order to preach the gospel to those who have not heard, using their profession, using their skills, using their educational empowerment. That's what the young people of this generation should be thinking about. Wow, we are campus momentum, and we are taking Jesus everywhere. Wherever the nations can be found, that's where we want to be.